Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Game Over Ottawa. Unfortunately, the season finale tonight as the Sens lose 4-2 on home ice in Game 6 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Leafs also take the series by a score of 4-2. Maude here once again. Happy to be joined by Damien. How are you feeling after the Sens have been eliminated, Damien?
Just sad. Or like disappointed in a way. You felt like it was there, right? When Perron scored, and you didn't really get to like relish it as much as you wanted to because the Leafs got that quick goal right back. And it's like Max Pacioretty, the guy that was crapped on all series by Leafs
Yeah.
fans, and it's like, oh my God, if he's obviously a shell of his old self, but he always had that gray wrister, and yeah, I can't blame Allmark on that one. It's just it sucks because it was a grind of a season when looking back on it, like from our perspective, right? We weren't fans only, we are also just covering the team and reacting to every single game after, and it went way longer than we wanted to, or that we, had in previous years. But it's still tough.
Yeah, that Pacioretty goal, the Leafs media was calling for him to be scratched. Their media and all their fans too. So
Yeah, I don't
good
blame
for
them too.
him. Good for him for getting it done there. But yeah, it sucks that I felt like the Sens were doing a pretty good job of preventing like grade A scoring chances. But you knew that those bottom six lines for the Leafs, like throughout the series, they weren't generating much, but they were able to have some good like offensive zone pressure and keep the play out of the Leafs defensive zone. And finally, one of their bottom six lines was able to generate a goal, and that was the difference here tonight. So, yeah, sad ending to the season. But to be honest, I think this is the most calm I've ever been after the Sens have
Yeah.
been eliminated from the playoffs. Like, I'm sure I'll be really sad tomorrow that we're not getting hyped for a game 7 or anything like that. But just the circumstances of finally getting back to the playoffs for 8 years, the excitement of going up against your biggest rival in the playoffs, and especially with the initial disappointment of going down 3-0 in the series, the fact that we got back to home ice for Game 6 and still made it a real close game in the end. I'm super proud of this team. I'm proud of the players for the fight that they showed all season and in this series, and super happy for the fans and proud of how they showed up for the team too. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
I think that there is no better crowd in the playoffs than the Sens fans in the CTC. It's just on another level, especially tonight with the fact that there was a lot less Leafs fans than in game 3 and 4.
hmm
So just shout out to the fans as well for making it super entertaining from that regard too, with a really loud building.
Yeah, and like Ottawa is a legit hockey market, and it's not even just like the men's hockey teams. Like Ottawa has one of the best supporting casts in terms of just women and like girls sports as well. I always like talk to my friends who are like from university and stuff, and they were saying like some of the Ottawa teams were always the best when it came to like girls sports and stuff like that. So it's a very like just diverse group, and obviously now we have the charge and everything, and you know what? Like the Sens, this is the number one, or this is our only, like, I guess, major four sports team, right? We don't have an NFL team, we don't have an NBA team, anything like that. So the fans really show up when they need to, and it's we got crapped on for so long, right? Because you go back to 2017 when I guess they didn't sell out completely in the playoffs, and then obviously there was the dark years, and thank goodness, like those are gone. Those are absolutely gone. We felt like maybe they were going to continue going into the season because last year was so bad. But like this this point of the I don't want to say rebuild, obviously, but the point of the organization right now is in a perfect spot because we just made the playoffs for the first time in how long? And then our players are locked up. Like our oldest guy is Batherson, who's 27, I guess. He's still got 5 more years of his prime. You look at Brady, 25, Timmy, Jake Sanderson, who are 22, 23. Like there's still a long way to go. Now the expectations are in order. The,
Hmm.
we gotta we like I'm already looking to next year, obviously, but you have to make your mark in the playoffs next year.
Yeah, the expectations are getting on another level for pretty much the first time in a while. For the last like 3 or 4 years, the expectations have been just get to the playoffs and see what happens. We
Yep, they
finally
did
got
that.
that from this core this year, so it's a huge success. And they did make a little bit of noise. They did make the Leafs fans scared for a little bit there. Turned it into a great series, super entertaining series. I think one that I'll look back fondly upon, even though the Sens lost, which again is super rare. Like the only other Sens loss of a series that I look back fondly upon is probably like the Rangers in 2012. Like maybe the
The
Pittsburgh
Habs
one,
one, the
maybe the
Habs one 2015 too was not
2015. See,
horrible.
see that one just made me really depressed because I didn't go to game 4 because I was like, oh, I don't want to see them get swept. And then I
Yeah.
went to game 6 and I believed that they were going to make the comeback. And then I
Mm,
was just super, super depressed. But also, I was like 13 or 14 years old back then. I was
mhm.
an emotional teenager. Um, and maybe the Penguins series in 2017. There's some really fond memories from that one too. But then of course you have the Kunitz goal probably being
Yeah,
the most like
they were too
infamous
close.
goal, yeah,
Too close.
in the history of this franchise. So that one hurt so much, but this one was just fun throughout the whole series. I think honestly the fact that like the pressure was kind of off on the Sens after they went
Yeah.
down 3-0 allowed them to just like play their game and put all the pressure on the Leafs. It's like, okay, you're not great at closing out series, so you gotta you gotta do it now, and we're gonna make it really hard for you to be able to do it. So I'm proud of the team for being able to do that, and yeah, I'm just it's tough. It's probably gonna sting more tomorrow and like after doing this podcast, I think. But for now,
Yeah.
like I'm just pretty happy with how everything
Mhm.
turned out.
Yeah, and considering, like, do you remember where we were in late November? We
Yeah.
weren't gonna make it. Like, same thing with
Mm,
Montreal. We were not going to make the playoffs. We still had, it was weird. It was, we still had a high percentage in terms of money puck and stuff. I remember still looking at the odds, and we had like a 50% chance even when we were below 500. Um, so you always knew that this team could make it, right? And then the big question was, okay, what are they going to do if they make it? And like I'll ask you this, like what do you see in this group in terms of like the core players? And because this was a huge test. Absolutely. Like
yes.
you go down the lineup, you go down the middle, your top three centers, your top three defensemen on the left side, like those guys are going to be in the lineup. And then you have Brady and Drake Batherson on the wings. You got to wonder, is Giroux coming back and stuff? I'm confident that he will, but like, what did you think of a lot of these notable players that have returned to the playoffs the first time?
Yeah, I think that the biggest takeaway in terms of positivity from this series is how the core players really played and got better as the series went along. Because obviously that first game was a mess from pretty much everybody, and there were some other mistakes in games 2 and 3, but
Yeah,
everyone improved from then on and showed that they can play playoff style hockey. You mentioned Kachuk and Stusla specifically. I am super happy with the two of them,
yeah.
especially in the last 3 games. Stutzla tonight was like maybe the
Oh
best
my
player on the
God.
ice.
Yeah, he was
He could have
awesome.
had 3 goals. Just no puck luck, and Stolarz played pretty well as well. And obviously we were we were just waiting 8 years for playoff Brady Kachuk, and it did not disappoint. Started off a little bit slowly, but he was still throwing those huge hits, scoring goals, just leading this team exactly how you would expect him to. So the fact that Brady Kachuk in the playoffs was not a disappointment, I think that's huge. We know that this guy can produce in the playoffs and lead his team, and that's huge going forward. Because I remember, I think it was after Game 3, I was on with Conrad, and we were saying like Matthew Kachuk had a really slow start to his playoff career. I think his first ever series he had 0 points. So if something like that had happened with Brady, that would have been a real tough look. That would have been like a little bit of a question about the future, as it's like, okay, we thought he was going to be this playoff beast and he wasn't able to do it. But despite being injured, he was absolutely awesome in this series. So I think specifically Kachuk and Stützle, super happy with how they played. And Stützle as well, there was probably more of a question of how his play would translate to the playoffs, because he's not the most physical guy, even though he does put up hits, and he put up a lot of hits in this series. So he was able to change his game to playoff style hockey. And again, it was slow at the start, the first 3 games in terms of production, but he had like the most hits on the team. And then in the last 3 games, he started getting that production and getting more looks on net. And he had some moments where he was just flying through the neutral zone tonight and gaining the Leaf zone, which usually you're not getting zone entries like that in the playoffs. Usually it's all dump and chase. And if it wasn't Stutzler with the puck, it was dump and chase. So both of them, I think, are super promising heading forward in terms of they will be able to perform in the playoffs.
Yeah. I'm looking here at the stat sheet. Brady Tkachuk had 8 hits tonight. Batherson had 9, and
Oh,
Timmy
wow.
had 6. So I know like hits aren't everything, obviously, but Timmy was everywhere, and Brady, like we kind of knew Brady. Thing is with Matthew, right? I think his first series, he was fresh out of the draft. I think it was 2017. Calgary made it, and I think they got swept by Anaheim that year. And then, but Brady, yeah, Brady's 25 now, right? So he's had to wait a long time. And there was always the not the wonder, I guess, because Sens fans backed it up consistently. And whenever the weird notion of, oh, does Brady want out and stuff like that, if he did, like he would have signed a 3-year contract after his ELC in 2021, and he would have been gone by now. But he signed a long-term 7-year contract. I think he's still got 3 more years left, and he put like even like let's just say he just leaves, right? In 3 years from now, like I'm just saying words, obviously. I know that he gave it his all every single
Yeah.
game, and he represented the city very well. Like that's a guy that's coming from America, and he joined the organization at the worst point. Like we needed to switch directions because at that point, you just go down the list, right? That was when the Hoffman and Carlson scandal was going down. Randy Lee was accused of or charged, sorry, with assault. Literally right before the draft. The organization was in a terrible spot. The Melnick out posters, billboards were out at that
Oh,
season.
that's a flashback. That's a
Right?
throwback right there.
Exactly. Like everyone hated the organization. It was unpopular. Like if I wore this jersey out, I literally would have been made fun of.
Hmm.
And now all of a sudden, like you bring him in, he just changes the outlook, and you needed a leader like that. And he's not a guy that's going to put up 100 points, but he changed the identity of this organization. Like I mean, for myself and probably for you as well, growing up and cheering for the Sens, they've always been the gritty underdog team, and they're not the flashy team that gets the superstars. They win games through hard work, and Brady Tkachuk brought that back.
Yeah, like you said, he was drafted at this franchise's lowest point. I
Literally.
think he was drafted when Carlson was still a member of the organization, but then
Yeah, he
Carlson
was.
was traded right before training camp. So, yeah, to go from how it started to where we are now, just amazing stuff from Brady Tkachuk. Pretty much this team's franchise player. He may not score the most points. He may not have the most ice time compared to like a number one D like Sanderson or anything like that, but
Hmm.
it's he's so big for this team, and he showed why to everyone in these playoffs. And yeah, I'm super happy with how he performed and how he led this team.
Yeah, point per game in the playoffs. Timmy, like I really want to talk about him because he was we always kind of wondered, okay, what's he going to be like in the playoffs, right? Because
Hmm.
he is softer
Yeah.
compared to Brady Kachuk. And then obviously every other fan base thinks he's soft, and then he goes out there and he throws 8 hits. So, and his physicality, like, and you got to give sort of credit to DJ Smith here. Um, because Tim Stützle obviously comes into the lineup in 2021. He is a skilled forward who is fast and is your prototypical, I guess, European scoring star. That's what he is, right? And then DJ Smith implements a very physical and grind you down system. And I think Tim Stützle did a good job at adapting to that and didn't push away the pressure of wanting or the pressure of changing your kind of your play style a little bit. And then Travis Green comes in, and Green did a great job at just letting Timmy do his job on the ice, and letting him play his game, but also like Tim Stützle has that competitive edge that he shows too. Like you look at a guy like Nylander, who's also a European scoring player, he doesn't show it
Yeah.
consistently enough like Tim Stützle does.
Yeah, Nylander had a good night tonight, but the the type of game that Nylander had in Game 5, that's an effort that you'll never see from Tim Stützle. Tim Stützle
Yeah.
is heart every night. Not to quote the slogan of "heart over hype," but I think that applies
No
to
one used
Timmy.
that.
Yeah,
Like an entire playoff run.
yeah. But I think it applies to Timmy really well. He gives it all for this team every night, and very good showing from him in the playoffs.
Mhm.
Now, before we continue, just going to give a quick ad read for Game Over Network's Patreon. If you're looking for ways to help an upstart media company employing over 30 young journalists and analysts across Canada, and if you have a few spare bucks kicking around, you can head to our Patreon page at patreon.com/the Game Over Network. There you'll find multiple tiers featuring different rewards and goodies for helping us grow. There's extra access, exclusive looks behind the scenes, Discord benefits, merch discounts, opportunities to give us feedback, and you can even join us for special shows live where you can interact with hosts as we launch more ways to improve your experience. If you're not able to share a few dollars, we have a free tier available so you don't miss out. If you really want to help us, make sure to click like and subscribe on YouTube, rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast app, and share our work on your social media of choice. Now, obviously, this is the last main Game Over Ottawa episode of the season. So if you do want to support us throughout the summer when there's no games and no streams going on, Patreon is the best way to do that with a little bit of a monthly subscription there. So patreon.com/the Game Over Network is where you can find that. So I figure into the second period here, we should probably get into the minutia of the actual game here a little bit and just I kind of don't even want to talk about it just because I feel like looking forward to the future is more fun right now. But probably going over the big plays real quick here. That resulted in the Sens being eliminated is we got to at least do that because it is game over. It's also series over and season over tonight, but we do have the actual game to talk about as well. And Austin Matthews, he stepped up. We were kind of making fun of him a little bit on the post-game show for Game 5, saying he only had one goal in the series. He gets a huge one. That stat about the Leafs not scoring any power play goals in their elimination games over the last, 8 years, they finally got another one, and who better to do it than their captain? So that one, I feel like it's a little bit lucky, but it's a perfect screen by Matthew Knies in front of the net. What did you see on that goal, Damien?
Just shot to the net. I think he was looking for deflection.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was aiming for that spot. But put pucks on net, you never know what's gonna happen. And the first goal, like when that goes in, you really feel like, oh, like I don't
Mm-hmm.
think we're gonna win this game today.
Yep.
Because I'm trying to think. I think the only game that a team has like lost by scoring the first goal was game 3 for us. Uh,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
yeah, I mean, just a simple shot, and it's crazy how that went in, right? Too, because it didn't go under like Allmark's arm or anything. It just went past his pad
Right
and
along
like
the
in the
post.
yeah, like the bottom left corner. That's a tough one, because it wasn't even like a snipe bar down that like Matthews will do. You gotta wonder like what is going on with his shot because he hasn't really shown that elite wrist shot or snapshot that he has. I mean, he gets it through, right? So you got to respect it. Who took that penalty too? Because that was a rough time to take it.
Oh, it's
It was Brady.
Kachuk.
And
Oh
honestly,
yeah. It's
I missed this. I didn't actually see like no one clipped it from what I saw on
so
Twitter.
he was finishing his check by the benches as the Leafs dumped it in, but
Yeah.
he took a few steps to approach Carlo after Carlo had already dumped it in. So it was technically interference. I kind of felt this way against or about the Greg penalty in last game, even though it was a tackle. It's the kind of thing that I don't expect to be called in the playoffs. But again, they're trying to call like stuff that's more obvious. So
Yeah.
if you
Mhm.
give them something like that where it's a late hit, I don't blame the refs at all for calling that one.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I'm not gonna like, yeah, I don't think we're gonna sit here and be like, well, if they just like took away that penalty, then the Sens
yeah.
would have won the game. No,
There
Like,
was only 3 penalty calls in the whole game, so
yeah,
the refing
exactly.
really was not a factor tonight. The
No.
refing, if anything, what was a factor was the linesman constantly getting in the way of the puck and the
Yeah.
play. I think there was 3 times where it resulted in a Leafs scoring chance. I think in the first period, Sanderson got blocked by the linesman. It was a 2-on-1 because of that, and then there was another one at some point, and then in the third period there was one where he actually I think in the second period it was in the Leafs end. It hit the linesman and we got a scoring chance out of it. And then there was another one for the Leafs where the ref got caught in the board battle. So bad night for the linesman, but in terms of refing, not a huge deal, like you said.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, like that, it kind of felt like sort of like a makeup call in a way because, the Sens already had the power. This is what the refs do, I feel like, in the playoffs. In the first
Yeah,
period, they even it out, right? No, like no matter what it is, it could just be a simple like slash in the neutral zone. But the thing is that they got to sort of cater to the other team, right? So they got to
hmm,
call a so-so penalty. And you know what? Like no one's going to be happy with the refs at the end of the day. And if
yeah.
you are constantly calling panel like slashes and hooks and stuff, then maybe that just throws the flow out of the game, and then people are just complaining constantly. Like I think the refs did a fine job in this game overall. Like
Yeah.
you can't,
This was
things
this
are
was
gonna happen.
definitely like a let them play sort of game,
Yeah, sure,
and the
do it.
Leafs pulled it off and proved
Mhm.
themselves to be the better team tonight.
Yeah, and like I mean the Riley penalty towards the end, that's one of those ones where it's like, okay, if your player is like close to the net and near the puck, and then you shove him into the goal like or like the post, right? Um, it's a different circumstance, right? Where like it's a more dangerous play, and then obviously you have the home crowd behind you, so then the ref is like, oh shit, okay, you know
Yeah,
what? Got to
that
call
was one that they
penalty. Yeah,
had to
so.
call.
That's what happens.
In the end, the Leafs finished 1-for-1 on the power play tonight. So the two biggest things in this series the whole way has been the face-offs and the power play. So if you take
Yeah,
one penalty and you can't kill it, that's gonna burn you in the playoffs. To put it that way. Yeah.
that's gonna be one thing to figure out in the off season is the penalty kill.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? We'll chalk it up, I'm sure, soon. But they'll have to figure out some players who they want to add in the off season to go up against these power plays that are lethal because the Leafs had an insane percentage this series, and then you know what? If Tampa comes back, they're really good. Florida. Same thing. You're going to be going up against some really good power plays if you make it back to the playoffs next year.
Totally agree. Then from there we had the Nylander 2-0 goal, which was just a little bit of a weird one where we had it in our own zone, but Nick Jensen was pressured pretty heavily by old man Pacioretty there. And Nylander barely keeps it in at the blue line. To be honest, I thought that maybe there was going to be offside review, but obviously there wasn't, so we would have lost that challenge if we did get it reviewed. And then Nylander off the turnover just ends up pretty much alone with Olmark, and it barely squeaked under his blocker. So that was a tough one there too, where it's like you would like a save, but it's such a good grade A scoring chance, and it
Mhm.
barely made it in. Like he almost made that save, so that was a tough one. That one really stung.
It did. That was the worst one. Or I guess no, the Pacioretty one was the worst. But like this one, the Matthews one, you kind of understand. But with that shot, oh, I just wish Shabbat, because the thing is, we were playing so tight, like man to man. Like Pinto was against Matthews the entire series, and he did a good job at it because like Matthews, I mean, he got one goal in game three, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But that was it. And then obviously a lot of the players got their cookies on the power play. So uh, with Shabbat there, I just want him to press up against Nylander. Like he allowed the shot. He wasn't close to the net, and Nylander kind of like trails in from a 3-on-2 or anything. It was a 1-on-1. I just wish Shabbat would have put more pressure and denied the shot there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm looking at the little goal visualizer on NHL.com, and after the turnover happens, Shabbat just kind of backs up towards the
Yeah,
crease and kind of, I guess
can't
maybe
do
he
that.
wanted to block the shot or something like that. But yeah, you're totally right that you'd like him to step up there.